The following podcast is presented by Secret Room Multimedia.
You're listening to Fairpoint Podcast. My name is Craig Lewis.
My name's Nathan K. I'm not going to sing it, though.
You too good to sing with me here?
I'm not going to sing it.
The audience has spoken. They want more singing.
They do, and I'm not going to give it to them this episode.
Oh, okay. Well,
It'd be too on the nose.
we're going to give them something similar. A podcast about a musical artist.
That's right. The Smiths.
Oh, crap. I listened to the wrong band.
All fucking week.
Okay. Well, the Smiths, not including Morrissey.
The rest of
The rest of the Smiths.
This is the Andy Rourke episode.
Such a boring podcast. Why do we do this?
No, today we're looking at another musical artist that I've been waiting to do since we started the series, Ani DiFranco.
Yeah, she's cool. I can totally
She's
see
cool.
her as being a visionary of her field.
Totally. She's like a alternative folk punk, like angry feminist, like 90s icon. She's awesome. She's so fucking awesome.
I heard everything in that music except for the punk, kind of. Maybe more so her attitude you're talking?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Well, no, I mean the way she sings too, like she's very
2-4. She's very 2-4 about it.
well, no, I mean like brash, abrasive, like
Yeah, her lyrics can be very, very abrasive at times.
I mean, her voice is usually compared to like a jazz style, like the way it like goes
Definitely. There's
up
a
and
jazzy
down. And
feel to it. A friend of mine, I was listening to her, and a friend of mine was saying that he thought it was like spoken word jazz poet.
totally, but there's still a punk rock. Like she's kind of like growling and yelling sometimes too. And
I
like-
definitely heard and felt a lot of the folk.
So I've been listening to Ani DiFranco for about 12 years. Or
I've
so.
been listening to Ani DiFranco for about 2 weeks.
And you've been just binging on her music to prepare, right?
Yes, in a way. I've listened to a few of the albums you suggested to me, Canon, and some of the live ones, where she has like 30 tracks on it.
Canon
Spotify is a wonderful thing.
is her selection that she picked out to like kind of go through her career.
So it's basically picks from her discography.
Yes, it's not what I would pick, but since it's what she picked, I figured you should give it a listen.
Right. But judging by how long that album was, I would assume it was no less than 3 discs.
It was too depressing. Like it's too much sad songs and
Yeah, like there's a lot of like Cradle and All is
I
one
like
that
that
really
song,
stuck
though.
out to me, but there is a lot of like downer moments. And actually, now that I think about it, you said she hand selected these songs, so maybe she was going through like a mini bout of depression when she was doing that. So she picked some of her more down
I don't know.
songs.
Yeah, I don't know. At least 50% of her catalog is really sad and slow and depressing, and I'm not as keen on those songs as I am a lot of the other ones. Some of the acoustic, like folky, like angry folk, like
Yeah, I dig the backings and I really dig the jazziness.
yes, and I
to it.
love when she started going into this period where she had a lot of like horn sections and
Yeah.
more bass. Like originally it was just drums and acoustic guitar, and that's it.
I can
And
see that.
Yeah, then it kind of evolved from there.
Well,
But-
if you want to stay relevant, you have to evolve as a musician.
18 solo studio albums. 18 fucking albums.
Counting
So,
studio albums?
yes, she is a very prolific artist. As we said, we're saying she's a folk artist, but it's not like bluegrassy. It's not like what the
No.
first thing that comes to mind when you hear folk. to put it in her own words, she says, folk music is not an acoustic guitar. That's not where the heart of it is. I use the word folk in reference to punk music and rap music. It's an attitude. It's an awareness of one's heritage, and it's a community. It's sub-corporate music that gives voice to different communities and their struggle against authority.
And folk is also in the art of storytelling.
Yes.
Not just in how the music sounds.
Absolutely. But needless to say, I am a huge, huge fan. What's after having listened to her, what's your overall temperature, Craig?
Oh, well, it's pretty lukewarm. It's not quite boiling hot, but she's good. She's very, very talented. She speaks a lot of truths that a lot of people aren't willing to talk about. I can see her being sort of like an inspiration to the downtrodden type that she speaks of in her music. With there's a lot of sociopolitical aspects and issues she deals with and talks about that are big problems that people try to sweep under the rug.
She's always been one of the most inspirational musicians to me.
But she definitely is one of those artists, for me at least, that I think I would have to be in the mood for, because when I'm just wanting to listen to music, that type of stuff gets me angsty and angry-ish at the world.
Not all the songs, but what about some of those smooth jazzy ones?
Yeah, that's true. It's just talking about
Fire Door, the live version from Living in Clip, is my whenever I'm feeling like shit, I can just turn that song on and just fall into it, and it's like a cigarette.
Fire Door was straight fire, bro. Yes, so she does have other more either upbeat or just fun tunes. I know I'm harping on the political ones, but she's all over the place.
Yeah, and we're going to get all over the place. We're going to cover her entire career, warts and all. We're not going to pull any punches. We're going to talk about some maybe negative aspects of her.
Wait, you're going to talk about her warts?
Warts and all, meaning we're even the
warts.
Uncouth.
Yes.
No,
even the... Oh, let's just get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, I don't want to... No spoilers. We'll talk about it later.
Head into the podcast now. We got... I think we got some news.
I think so. So there's a hot new young artist on the scene, Craig.
Ani DiFranco.
Yes, it's 1990 again. No.
Adele.
No. Craig, do you remember Cyndi Lauper? Of course you remember Cyndi Lauper. Who doesn't?
One thing I know about Cyndi Lauper is that she just wants to have fun.
Not just her, Craig.
I also remember her smashing her platinum record over Rowdy Roddy Piper's skull a year before he passed.
Wait, what?
Oh, she's been on WWE a couple times.
What?
She hosted it a year or two ago. Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper?
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but she actually was ended up being good friends with Captain Lou Albano. He was in the Girls Just Want to Have Fun music video.
That's the guy that played Mario.
Yes, in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yes,
that is him. Yeah, he's an ex-wrestler and a manager. She had a connection there going into that, and she's been brought on.
She smashed her album
and
over.
When she was popular in the 80s, she was on the WWE, and when Rowdy Roddy Piper was big too, and she was on his Piper's Pit talk show, and they had a thing there where she got into it with him, and they brought her back 20 years later to be on it again, and she smashed not over his head, over Heath Slater's head.
Who's that?
The local jobber, the guy that technically after the brand draft is still a quote-unquote free agent because nobody picked him to Raw or SmackDown, but he has to still have a contract of some sort.
This was in the 80s?
No, this was last week.
What?
A couple weeks ago.
How did you confuse that with something in the 80s?
Oh, no. What?
It's a couple weeks ago,
Craig. What I'm talking about is the free agent thing was a couple weeks ago with Heath Slater. This was a couple years ago that she slammed her platinum record over Heath Slater's head.
Whenever it happened, that's pure gold.
She was in the 80s,
it's platinum.
and she was in 2013.
Well, Cyndi Lauper's son, Dex Lauper, is a new up and coming rapper.
Oh, really?
Or so he calls himself.
Oh.
Well, he's just put out his first single. It's called Wavy, and it's in the proud tradition of not even being a rap song. Literally the whole song, I can't, if I say one lyric from the song, he can sue me, because that's the whole song.
Oh, really? It's just repeating a lyric?
I just did this because I'm wavy. She just did that because she wavy.
They just did that.
'cause it's
Simpsons
wavy. Something wavy.
Simpson
the
wave,
whole
right?
song. I'm in a car 'cause I'm wavy. I got rims 'cause I'm wavy. It's just like, oh my
Okay.
God, shut the fuck up.
Bless his heart.
So
He
bad.
tried. Is that even
No,
rap,
he did
though?
not, Craig.
Is that even rap, though?
No, I don't consider it rap. I don't consider half the shit that's out now that's considered rap. But maybe that's just me being an old fogey.
Yes, it is. There's no questioning about it. I've had to come to that realization, too.
I feel like every rap song nowadays is just like,
Ha! Come in, Hannah. Ha!
Craig, have you ever listened to Paris? Pvris.
That's not how you spell Paris, Nathan.
That's how you spell the band name. They're like a wannabe Paramore.
Oh, is that kind of like how they use a V instead of a U in churches?
Yes, exactly. They're pretty good. I like them. I mean, they're pretty basic, like pop rock. They're basically just a wannabe Paramore. But they're pretty good. I like them. But I realized recently that their lead singer is actually Link from The Legend of Zelda, because she's always going like, ha, ha. Like, in the best.
Did you do voice work for Smash Brothers?
It's like, to anybody out there that listens to Paris, you're welcome. Because now every single time you hear a Paris song, you're going to notice her going, ha, ha, and you're just going to think, scrat.
I'm going to notice that when I'm listening to Paris, when I'm in Paris.
Oh, you fancy, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to Paris, Texas.
Oh, okay.
The Paris of the South.
Literally.
Literally.
It is the Paris of the South.
Oh, while I'm catching a Paris on Pokemon Go.
Stop playing Pokemon Go while we're podcasting.
No. I accidentally almost deleted some apps, so I had to shut that down real quick.
Also in rap music news, or so-called rap music news, recently, this has been all over Facebook and Twitter, Drake challenged Eminem to a rap battle.
Oh, that beef? I heard that beef was fake.
Every fucking rap beef is fake and constructed.
It's a WWE work. You guys call WWE fake? Your music is fake.
Dude,
Suck
yeah,
on
rap
that.
music totally has more in common with professional wrestling than it does any type of music scene. Like, it's all about identity, and like it's all about like talking yourself up and talking your opponent down, and like it's very competitive, and like
In reality, when you're making music, do you need to have opponents? Can't you have allies?
But I love this Drake versus Eminem thing, because it's totally like, so we got a cartoonish racist versus like just the most bland, like
A teen actor from a Canadian
it's
show?
basically Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton for
No.
rap music.
Well,
It absolutely is.
but
Drake equals Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump equals Eminem.
I'm going to spend the next couple minutes trying to debunk this, and I'm probably going to fail.
Also, new De La Soul album. It's pretty cool too.
Anchoring the rear. Oh, by the way, we had to talk about the important things first. Now we can just... De La Soul's got a new album out, too, by
It's
the
pretty
way.
dope.
Moving on.
They just put out a song with Usher, and it sounds like something straight out of like the early 90s. It's amazing.
I love Usher.
But not in a bad way. A lot of times when these like old school rappers try to make a comeback, it just doesn't work, because either they haven't grown or they've like
Changed
forced,
way too much.
Yeah, or it just seems fake that they're trying to like keep up with the times rather than just...
And you could tell they aren't, but they're trying.
Yeah, this sounds good though. It just sounds like a new De La Soul song.
Cool. Maybe that one guy that walks down my street every day in the morning will pick up that album. He's the guy that wears a wall clock around his neck.
What?
Yeah, that happens in 2016. There's a man walking around Marshall Street with a wall clock on his neck.
Real pertinent information for the listeners.
Yeah, well, I think I would want to know if there's a man doing that in 2016 that wasn't Flava Flav.
I got a clock around my neck 'cause I'm wavy. Walking down Marshall Street 'cause I'm wavy.
About to pound these waffles because I'm wavy. There's plenty of things that rhyme with wavy, too.
Just that. just the facts. Ani DiFranco is a prolific folk musician, singer, songwriter, and feminist icon. She's the owner of Righteous Babe Records and known for her signature style of playing, fusion of genres, angry lyrics, and dedicated activism.
So, Angela Marie DiFranco.
Is that her government name?
That's her government. Better known as Ani DiFranco.
I'm glad she shortened it down. It's kind of difficult to go, say, hey, my name's Angela Marie, everybody. Like, Ani's way better. Sticks out. You're going to sell records, sweetie.
That's some music critique from Craig, folks.
You're welcome. Change your name, sweetie. You'll sell more records.
Born September 23rd, 1970 in Buffalo, New York, to Elizabeth and Dante Americo DiFranco.
That's so close to us.
Us being
You
me
and
and
me.
you.
Yeah.
In Syracuse, New York.
No, it's close to us, the listeners, just as a universe, man.
Just the human race. As we said, she is a prolific folk artist. She plays guitar and she sings and she's a songwriter. She's a poet and an activist and an all-around cool gal.
Does she have any more credentials to add to that? Is she a notary?
Tons. She's
One
a
could hope.
comptroller.
She has been a comptroller. She's been a guest comptroller on Harmontown once. That's a lie. I don't know. I haven't listened to them all.
She started playing guitar at age 9. She would even play at like local bars and like busking on street corners as a little kid.
Oh, yeah?
Like,
Did her parents know what she was doing?
I don't know.
Because I know damn sure my fucking 9-year-old will never be on a street corner.
Well, she was emancipated at age 15. Her parents got divorced. Her mom moved to California and she didn't want to move and she didn't want to live with her dad. So she was like, fuck you guys, I'm out.
Oh,
I'm on my own. She graduated from high school a year later at age 16. And she graduated from...
I'm still on the 9. You're like a year later at age 10.
No, she was emancipated at 15. She started
15.
guitar at 9. Emancipated at 15. Graduated high school at 16.
So extremely smart.
Yeah, she graduated from the Buffalo Academy for Visual and Performing Arts. What the fuck is up with... They have a high school
that could be a
for
high school?
Visual and Performing Arts? That's some white people shit
Are you
there.
sure that's not a technical school? And family problems, but how did she fund this? No 15-year-old can afford a performing arts school on a beggar's salary.
Well, she started early. She founded her own record label at 18. Well, okay, so her first cassette tape that she made had her address on it. So people would get their hands on the cassette tape and they'd write to her and be like, hey, can Ani come play our college? That'd be really cool. And
Like, it reminds me of like being, hey, can Ani come out and play today? and play our college?
that's how she started touring, like very grassroots, like just put her address on her fucking tape and people wrote to her.
Oh, so she is grassroots. You said it. Oh, I was thinking we were talking about bluesgrass earlier, and for some reason I made grassroots a thing that's connected. Aye.
Roots wave. Because it's wavy.
Roots wavy.
It's new. All you have to do to create a new genre is adjective noun.
No, adjective wavy.
Yeah, adjective plus wave equals new genre. Ani plays shavecore.
She plays
her head.
Ani wave.
Well, she shaves her head, but not her armpits. So I guess shavecore wouldn't be. I don't know if she shaves her armpits.
I was like, wow. I heard she only shaved part of her head, though.
She's worn so many different hairstyles.
Yeah.
She's so fucking cool. Like, because of her hair.
She's that girl that's like, why is she doing that? She doesn't care. That's why she's doing it. That's what makes her cool.
Oh my God. Becky, look at her hair. She looks like one of those Indigo Girls girlfriends.
It is like sometimes there.
Look at her. What hair? Well, she's worn dreadlocks. She's like worn like short blue, green, crazy hair. Like she's had all sorts of styles. She's had her head half shaved, had her head shaved.
Full head shaved. She went full Sigourney Weaver in Aliens 3.
It's dope. I think it's a cool look. The Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, Sinead O'Connor I don't think wore it well, though.
Fight the real evil.
Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road, she rocked the shaved head. like no other. Charlize Theron, you can do a shaved head. Ani DiFranco, you could do a shaved head. Sinead O'Connor, you started the shaved head.
I was about to say anyone can do it, but no, I couldn't pull off a shaved head.
I could not. I have
My
so
head's
many
way too
scars
big.
and lumps on my head. You know how many concussions this boy has had? That's why I'm so silly sometimes.
Have you ever seen the X-Files? I would look like an alien if I shaved my head. Plus, get rid of these beautiful locks. Not on your life, buddy.
Never. Nathan Wavy.
I can't shave this hair because it's wavy.
It is, too.
All right, so as we said, at age 18, this is 1989, she founded Righteous Babe Records. It was originally going to be Righteous Records, but that was already taken, so she called it Righteous Babe, which is way cooler anyway.
She has some serious dedication to the craft, ambition, goals. She seems like a very driven person.
Yeah, she moved to New York also. Like, she made the record label, moved to New York.
Well, that's smart for a musician.
When I first got into her like around age 18 myself, and I think I originally discovered her by reading an interview with her in which she was putting George W. Bush on blast. And
like any other sane person.
As an angry young lesbian myself, I was really happy to have found this kindred spirit and was hooked on her. I remember I think I bought my first Ani DiFranco album and Demon Days, possibly at the same time, the Gorillaz album.
Demon Days?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a while ago.
Gorillaz' sophomore effort.
Effort? Wasn't so good?
It wasn't an effort. It was a success.
Oh, it was a success.
Are you not familiar with the work of the Gorillaz, Craig?
I was never really into that.
Oh, you need to listen to Demon Days. It is a masterpiece.
Yeah. I know
It's not even my favorite album, but it's a masterpiece.
I'm feeling glad.
That's my favorite album. That's their first album. But Demon Days is like a musical masterpiece. It really is, dude. You need to just give it a listen.
It just seems like with the cartoons, you know, them being the cartoons on stage when they do their shows and stuff, seems like they ripped off Death Clock.
Okay, first of all...
Stop. First of all, just stop. Shut up, Greg. So what was your first Ani DiFranco album?
I don't remember.
She's so good that I don't remember. She's got so many.
Because I think I was downloading her from Napster was my main exposure. First I was like Napster hoarding Ani DiFranco.
And it was okay then because we didn't know better. We didn't know it was wrong and illegal and taking money out of our hands.
It is illegal. You want to hear what Ani DiFranco has to say about it? Quote unquote, there's something very essential and very necessary about taping tapes for friends and turning people on and the anarchy of music exchange. I certainly wouldn't want to try to crack down on all of it, especially in that heinous way that it's happening. It really is a different world now. Music is free.
Clap. Clap, 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 clap,
Stick
clap.
that in your pipe and smoke it. So she doesn't care that I downloaded her music. So it was a sampling from a bunch of different albums.
Well, it's because that was a punk move. You know,
Yeah.
It was a very punk move to download it illegally. So she respects it. She knows you would buy the album too.
I mean, she's like, I make my money off touring, not off record. Nobody makes money off record sales. You
Seriously.
make money off touring. And
That is true for like what 95% of artists.
yeah. So speaking of touring, the next year, 1990 is where we're at now. She released her first album, the self-titled album,
Okay, 20-year-old Ani DiFranco, first self-titled album.
and started touring her ovaries off throughout the 90s. Like, she toured nonstop.
And I'm like picturing in my head that she was not only touring nonstop like that, she touring her ovaries off, as you would put it, but she was probably also her own booking agent. She was probably her own manager. She was probably her own transport.
Right.
Like, she was probably just doing this on the back of herself.
Very DIY. So cool. She's so cool. I aspire to one day be half as cool.
Yo, even nobodies that'll never go anywhere that book shows at Funkin' Waffles have some kind of shitty manager doing
Funkin'
it
Waffles
for them.
is the place that Craig works.
Yeah, there's some great bands that go through there, but there are a lot of shitty bands.
It's a venue and a waffle restaurant where they have like 40 different types of waffles you can order. It's amazing. If
Thank
you ever
you.
come to Syracuse, go check it out.
It really is one of those things, and I will be there because I'm there so much. So if you ever get to Syracuse and you want to meet Craig from Fairpoint Podcast, go to Funkin' Waffles. You'll see me as long as it's not a Thursday. Now that we did free plugs for my boss.
So highlights of like these tours throughout the 90s appear on what might be my favorite Ani DiFranco album. It's called Living in Clip, and it's a live album, which is weird. My favorite's usually not a live album. I'm very all about studio recordings and the mix and stuff.
There's actually one other band I can think of where one of my favorite album of theirs is a live album.
Coheed and Cambria?
Never Ender.
Yeah, of course. One of my favorite albums of theirs is
their whole discography.
Is every single album of theirs played live.
No. The one that had Government Mule on.
They had an album with Government Mule?
No. During one of the... Remember, during, I think it was Good Apollo 1, I believe Government Mule came out and did a medley with them at the end
album?
of it. Yeah.
What?
You don't remember that?
I didn't know. I couldn't hear it. I didn't watch the DVD.
Oh, yeah, I have the... You didn't watch the DVD? I have it. You can borrow it.
So...
I insist.
Did you listen to Living in Clip?
I believe I listened to some songs. That was like one of my first introductions, I think, to her.
It's so good. Like, there's so much banter, like, between tracks, and she's just so funny and cute. Like, it's great, like, to just hear her and the band members talking. And
picturing her like, ha, 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 ha. She sounded like that kind of. What time would you?
She's just kind of like, she's like a little bit weird, and that was my best, like, Ani DiFranco. But it's great. It's a great album. Almost every song that she plays on that album is better than the studio version.
But the core question about her doing all this live touring is, did she ever play at Funkin' Waffles? Because if she didn't, then she's not important enough.
I don't think so, but she played at the Palace Theater.
Oh, yeah, way bigger than Funkin' Waffles. She's
Literally.
too big for Funkin' Waffles now, I think. Maybe downtown.
But Palace Theater's tiny. Like, I couldn't believe that they'd be able to fit the audience for a Ani DiFranco show.
Well, also considering how it is actual seating.
And it's Syracuse, and it's such a niche community that there's probably only so many people in Syracuse that listen to Ani DiFranco.
Yeah.
Especially now in 2016, nobody listens to Ani DiFranco anymore. Like,
no? Oh, because, she was big back in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know. I still listen to her. I like her newer albums, but none of it's like her old stuff, It's kind of like, I'm glad that she's still releasing stuff. It's like, how a lot of like big artists, unless you're a diehard fan, you don't listen to their albums past a certain point, because then it just feels like
right, because it's
they're
like
going through the motions.
It's not quite the jumping the shark moment, but you kind of tell they're like, oh, they've came out with 4 amazing albums, and then the other ones start to dwindle.
It's like they're not bad, but I heard everything I needed to hear from this artist in their first 5 albums, and then they just kind of got. They're not big,
so
and they're not relevant anymore.
Like U2. And they only have so many albums, and you're like, yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. But I do really like her new stuff, and there's a lot of songs that sound fresh, so I'm not knocking it, but it has lost a little bit of its edge and voice, She guest starred on an episode of King of the Hill in 1998.
Which one?
She was...
Dang it, Bobby!
Dang
that
it,
boy
Bobby.
ain't right.
She was Peggy's guitar teacher or something.
Oh.
She was like this like feminist punk rock like guitar player, just like she is. And,
that's not how a woman should act.
Yeah, Peggy had her over to dinner, and like she would butt heads with Hank. Hank, very innocent. He was like,
I'm a man, dang it, and I sell propane and propane accessories.
But just like he has antiquated ideas about her role as a wife.
Well,
and,
it's kind of like middle class 1980s father, like white middle class father mentality. Mm-hmm.
She's encouraging Peggy to be her own person, pursue her craft, do her own things, stand up for herself, have her own voice. And Peggy writes a song about like a turtle whose shell was its home, but also its prison. And
oh, deep, bro. Sick. I want that to be on an album.
It's kind of cool. It's a cool episode. I watched it. I'm not a big King of the Hill fan, but it's not bad. It's fucking Mike Judge. Like, it's great. Like, but it just never really was my type of show. I don't know.
When it was on, it definitely wasn't my type of show. I gained a way greater respect for it when it was on Netflix a few years ago. Mm-hmm. No longer on Netflix, unfortunately. But I could still see where I'm like, yeah, it's not great, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to keep watching and watching and watching, but every now and then, if I catch it, you better believe I'll be watching Bobby Hill going, that's my purse.
It's good. I respect the writing and everything is great. Like, it's a great television show. It's just not my cup of tea.
I'm on a newer Mike Judge things now, like Silicon Valley.
Haven't watched it, but I've heard great things.
Hilarious.
So, Ani DiFranco, though, was there any highlights that you remember through listening, like certain songs or albums or?
Yeah, I mean, like, it would definitely just be songs. Fire Door, It was definitely one. Cradle and All was one, like I said, stuck out of my mind, mostly because she actually did the nursery rhyme. And I remember being like, oh, we're going to do this whole thing now. Okay. But like, it's kind of kicking, like jazzy, like, yeah. Other than that, no, just very smooth listening. Like, it was stuff that helped me get through crap parts of my shift at work. If I like decided I was going to do some dishes for a couple hours, I'm like, oh, put on Ani DiFranco and kind of like forget that time existed for a little bit.
Did you listen to or hear Self-Evident? It's like a 13-minute long.
Probably not.
I think it's only, there's no studio version. It's on one of the live albums, I believe. So much shouting, so much laughter. And it's about September 11th. It's like a spoken word poem set to music.
Oh, yes. I did hear that. That went on for 13 minutes. It felt like it was 5.
It's amazing. It's so good.
That is one of those moments, I think, that I was talking about where she just speaks it how she feels it, not caring what anybody else thinks or if she's like, if the mainstream's going to be like, fuck you, you can't say that shit.
It touches upon everything. Like
jet fuel.
She's like, jet fuel can't melt steel. No, she doesn't. But it is irreverent and reverent at the same time. Like it's questioning the government, it's questioning America, but it's also expressing like the mourning and the sense of loss and the tragedy. Like it doesn't dodge any aspect of it, and it's the most like honest, all-encompassing look at September 11th that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Which is weird for me because I came from like kind of a conservative upbringing where I'm just like, yeah, the government's there for us. So my parents told me so. And, as I grew older, I've seen shit and I've lived and experienced life and seen real people and the bullshit that they go through and the bullshit you start to notice, like things that don't add up in the government, and you start to lose your trust there. But it wasn't really until the primaries this year that I was just like totally like, oh yeah, no, the government's fucking terrible. This is all a shadow government. Where's my tinfoil hat, please?
But the government is us. There's just a bunch of monkeys running around on the planet. That's all it is. And
that sounds racist.
No, it's not racist.
Yeah.
It's
no, because I'm talking about humans,
yes.
not. I'm talking about all humans, not
Yes.
just certain humans.
Yeah, all humans. And they're just, it's what we just, there is no such thing as government. It's just something that we say exists, so it does. It's magic.
Yeah,
it's literally like magic in the LaVeyan sense.
Well, kind of like how, when did we just decide that like green paper meant how important you are in the world?
That's, yeah, it's crazy. Like, but it exists because we've created it and we say it exists and it actually affects people's lives. So,
right. So don't you think, now I'm on like stock markets and shit. So like, don't you think that in a world where like, the value of this went down and the value of that went down. What if you were just like, no, it's not going to go down because it only is going down because you're saying it's going down.
Because we've built like a complex economic structure that we like are constantly trying to support.
That nobody understands or follows except for the ones that control it. So how fair does that sound?
But nobody controls it. Like really nobody does control it.
I think somebody really controls it.
There are people with varying degrees of control, and there are people with much more control than us.
Shadow
but at the end of the day, though, there is no such thing as control. Because
reptilians.
All right, back to Ani DiFranco.
Speaking of... I just fell into the rabbit hole.
Speaking of like economic models and all this stuff, did you listen to any of her stuff with Utah Phillips?
No.
She did 2 albums with this guy named Utah Phillips.
I know of Utah Phillips.
Really?
Yeah. I believe you introduced me to him a few years ago when you made me a folk album once.
It was probably from the Ani DiFranco Utah Phillips album then. Well, there's 2 of them. The Past Didn't Go Anywhere and Fellow Workers. And yeah, he's like this old folk guy.
Yeah.
Big beard, and he tells stories, you see.
You sit down on my lap, and I'll play my guitar.
He used to be a guitarist, but he's old. His fingers don't work that well. And he kind of stopped playing music, but people encouraged him. Then you're a really good storyteller. Don't just quit. You're old.
Let somebody else play the guitar.
You can't play yeah. So him and Ani DiFranco did a couple albums. He was a labor organizer, and he's a registered, well, he's dead now.
Sex offender.
No, anarchist. I don't know if he's registered as an anarchist, but
is that
he
a
is
thing
an
you can
anarchist.
register as?
I'm pretty sure.
Is anarchist a legit political party?
Yeah.
On the ballots?
Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody running. It'd be weird to see somebody running for office.
That's what I'm saying. It kind of defeats the purpose. I thought that there were only 2 political parties.
If elected, I will institute legislation that gets rid of all legislation.
Man, don't you see, man?
I promise to abolish all laws with a new law.
You're still a shill, man. No, he's the one that introduces the purge.
Utah Phillips is awesome, though. He's very like the rights of the workers, the rights of the people. The people own this country. It's theirs, goddammit. And he's so punk rock for an old folk dude. It's great. It's so great. He's amazing. If you can look up some of the stuff they've done on YouTube, it's great. If you like podcasts, you will love these albums because it's just talking. It's just like him telling stories about famous labor organizers and stuff.
Let's do a little game here. Utah Phillips or Bob Dylan?
Well,
no, Utah Phillips is all like, well, people can still understand me.
Bob. Speaking of Bob Dylan, do you know who Dan Byrne is?
The guy that was on everybody's Windows 98? Or David Byrne, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Tears for Fears?
Yeah.
No. Dan Byrne was like a folk artist. He sounds like Bob Dylan. He has a song called Talkin' Ani DiFranco's Mom Blues. It's just the story of him
talking to Ani DiFranco's mom.
Yeah. Well, he's like, you know what I thought would be cool? One day I was like, man, it'd be kind of chill to just like go chill with Ani DiFranco, have some lemonade, and swap songs with old Ani DiFranco.
So he's from Tennessee.
I drove up to Buffalo. And I found her house, and I knocked on the door, and her mom answered. And I'm like, hey, Mrs. DiFranco, I was hoping to see your daughter. And she said, well, Annie's not here, but why don't you come in? I'll get you a cup of water. And she made me some French fries and gave me a back massage and a foot rub. And
I'm starting to see that this is not the preface to a song, but the song.
The whole song is like, it's so great. And then I stayed there for a few months, and I got really close with Mrs. DiFranco. And then one day she woke me up and was like, Ani DiFranco's back. You got to get the fuck out of here. And kicked me out, and I left. But
I came to be with Ani DiFranco.
Ani DiFranco's busy, and she goes on tours. So sometimes I like to think maybe I'll drive back up to Buffalo and spend some time with Mrs. DiFranco. It's so like...
when she's on tour and across the country, I go to her mama's house. She makes the best northern lemonade.
It's such a weird song. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, Dan Byrne. He had that one song about Jesus, right?
Yeah. God Said No. I think is what you're talking about. He's like...
No, heading up to Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah.
That was him, right?
Yeah, there's another one that's called God Said No, where he's like, I asked God to like send me back in time so I could save Jesus from being crucified, and he said no. And like I asked God to send me back so I could kill Hitler, and he was like, no, like you don't know
You're
what.
Gonna fuck up the timeline, man.
That's pretty much what it is. God's like, you don't know what everything. It's interesting. He has really weird like humorous but deep lyrics.
Yeah,
kind of like Ani DiFranco.
Yes, I do remember him. That was another guy you introduced me to in that folk album.
Years ago.
Like, you're like, do you know this guy? I'm like, you introduced me years ago.
So around 1999, there was this old 19th century church in Buffalo that was to be demolished, and Ani DiFranco bought it, had it restored, turned it into a fucking venue.
I thought you were going to say painted it black and worship Satan.
She started playing death metal. This was the oft overlooked death metal period in Ani DiFranco's career.
That's where SLC Punk got John the Mod's new ego from.
No, it's a giant church called Babeville. I don't know if you remember a few years back, Craig. I was going onto my browser or something, and I started typing, and Babeville came up, babeville.com, and you were like, oh yeah, babeville.com, huh, Nathan?
Nathan's on the skin sites.
And I'm like, no, it's you're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, no, for real, I'll go there.
No. That's what you do in your time. I don't care.
I was looking up ticket prices because I'm traveling there.
Oh, so you're going to visit Babeville, huh? You're heading into Babeville.
I'm going down to Babeville. See Ani DiFranco's mom.
What would be coolest, since it is like an old church, if she only exclusively did gay weddings there?
Well, I don't think it operates as a church anymore.
I know, but they could use it. But they could use it as that venue. Like they have the reception there.
That would be pretty sweet. But I did go there. I saw a show. I don't think it was at the main hall, but there's like another smaller venue down in the corner. And I saw one of my all-time favorite artists, Dessa.
Oh, that was at that spot.
At Babeville. At Ani. I've never seen Ani live. I really need to. I don't see enough live music for such a lover of music.
Yeah. I feel the same way because like I used to go see shows all the time. And I'm just like, and now I'm kind of like, oh, he's like, I used to be like, fuck, this dude is coming to New York City or is coming to Buffalo. Let's fucking go. And now I'm like, oh, he's in Syracuse, but it's at 8:30 at night. It's late.
That's when I have my warm milk and watch Dateline.
Yeah, right? Who's going to DVR Dateline if I'm at a show?
I'd like to sit down and watch one of my Night Court VHSs. I recorded every episode.
I would definitely kill to just be at home watching the People's Court right about now. Followed by Matlock.
Dessa, though, to the listener, if you are a fan of Ani DiFranco and you've never listened to Dessa, I urge you to please go check out Dessa.
Are they friends?
No, they should be, though. They'd probably be great. She's so fucking cool. She's a rapper, singer, poet. Like, she's like a hip-hop Ani DiFranco. She's so cool.
Dessa's part of the Doomtree group, right?
Yes, it's like a rap collective. There's like...
Yeah. I imagine Doomtree being a full collective of people, kind of like what was it? The Death Row Squad from back in the 90s. You
Except
know,
there's
Bad Boys.
There's only 7 of them. It's not as big as Wu-Tang.
The Wu-Tang. Well, I think there really was only technically 8 or 9 members of Wu-Tang. There's hundreds now, but
but it was an honestly, the best show that I've ever been to was when I saw Dessa at Babeville. It was the first show of her first solo tour. She's from Minneapolis, too.
Total babes in Babeville. All right, buddy.
It was amazing, dude. It was so good.
She's from Minneapolis?
Yes. And so it's weird that
that's like your favorite music scene next to Toronto.
It's so great. Minneapolis and Toronto are like tied. But
what about Syracuse, man? You're such a shill. Where's your local love? Oh, right.
It was so great, though, man. Like, there was only like 30 people there, but everybody that was there knew every word to her, like every song that she played, and was like so happy, like the energy and the love like in that place. And it was so cool because I was recording it. You can actually watch. I documented the whole trip on YouTube because we drove out to Buffalo.
Shaggy the Shaman channel, correct?
Yes, I'll post the link on our Facebook, so you got to go like our Facebook. And I was recording, and during a like pause where she's not like singing and it's just the instrumental playing on, and she had a live band with her too, which was awesome. No, she didn't. Yeah, she did. She had a live band. She had a live band, and they had a
It's funny because
computer dude.
I understand, like, you think about it, and you're like, well, she's playing live, so duh. But I do understand there are a lot of people that just bring their laptop with them.
Well, because her songs, except for one album, like her songs aren't usually that much live musicianship. Like she doesn't have a band, like a regular band,
right.
You know? Although she may have a touring band. I don't know. But it was so great. And while I was recording, she reached out, took my camera from me, and like panned across the audience, and they all like cheered as she panned.
And you yelled, "Thief! Give me back my camera!"
Jumped the stage.
You bastard!
Assaulted her. No, and as she's handing the camera back to me, if you listen closely, you can hear me go, "I fucking love you." And she does this little like this little like half smirk, like, yeah, whatever. It's no biggie.
Who doesn't?
It was so great. I got to talk to her after the show. It was the best show.
Did you tell her again when you talked to her? I fucking love you.
I wouldn't break eye contact. I wouldn't let go of her hand.
Don't look away. Don't do it yet.
It was great though.
Okay. I have a few questions for you. 1, Dessa or Ani? Be honest.
What? Who's better?
Who's better? Who do you like more?
Oh, that's impossible to say, man.
Oh, come on.
Well, Dessa has like...
Neither of them are listening. You don't have to worry about hurting one's feelings.
But that's like saying, like, when you say, like, Biggie and Tupac and stuff, like, Tupac's got, like, 30 albums, and Biggie has 3. Like, Biggie has 2 albums.
Yeah, which is clearly why Tupac is better.
Dessa has 2 albums and a live band album where she did renditions of her earlier songs, but with a live band.
So you're saying Ani. Just because it's not fair.
But
it's David versus Goliath here.
But Dessa's like it's not there. I can't choose that whether or not I like a different artist better.
It's U2 versus Fall Out Boy.
Like, I can say that I can say Ani DiFranco's better than Fall Out Boy because I'm not a Fall Out Boy fan.
Yeah.
But that's...
You're a fan of both of these.
Yeah, I like them for their own reasons. Like,
you kind of feel bad about saying you like one over the other. Okay, so...
Well, I don't. Like, I like them both for their own reasons.
Right. So this then brings me to my next question. Should Ani DiFranco join...
Ani DiFranco versus Dessa. Deathmatch. Who wins?
Who wins? Who wins? The only thing that's
Ani
important...
DiFranco.
No. I haven't even finished the stipulations. There is a wooden stake in the middle of wherever they're fighting. It's the only weapon there. Whoever gets to it first can use it. Who wins? Who's faster?
They kick it out the fucking ring because they're too badass for that shit.
No, so they're like, no. We're going to do this fair, hand to hand. Shake on it. All right, now go.
Ani's like, hold on. Shaves her head before she goes into the ring.
Des is like, fuck that.
Sorry, I've been married too long. I'm getting soft.
Should Ani DiFranco join Doomtree? Next question.
Yes.
Yeah, well, no, think about it. How big of a leap is it to go from spoken word to
because
rap?
have you heard Ani DiFranco rap?
Oh, she has done it?
It's awful.
I was just going to say maybe that's the next step in the evolution of her music.
She's like freestyle flow. Oh, it's like so bad. I don't even remember.
My name's Ani and I'm here to say I rap real good in a really rapping way. It's like the rapping dog from that Titanic movie cartoon.
Thank you so much for not being in somebody's digestion.
Hold on. I almost did the beer in the nose thing.
Right now we're just geeking out over something nobody knows what the fuck we're talking about.
Unless they've seen Nostalgia Critic.
All right. So Ani DiFranco, as we said, though, we've been kind of kissing her ass because she's super cool. But let's
I don't kiss nobody's ass. Well, I do. That's a lie.
This is called Fair Point. So let's stay true to our name and be fair and balanced.
Let's be fair. Okay. Let's dig up some dirt on her. Dresden Files
We're going to dig up some dirt.
All right, man. Come on, Joe Friday. Hit me.
2014.
Oh, that ain't even too long ago.
No, it kind of breaks my heart. Ani was planning a 3-day artist workshop at Nottoway Plantation in Louisiana.
Stop. Stop right there. One, she's running it like she's like the camp advisor of this music camp.
It was going to be like an artist's retreat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was running it.
Okay.
Have artists get together, talk about ideas.
Real artists like equals or like she's teaching them stuff?
No. Like a summit having, people
okay, so just
ideas.
like a grouping of the great artists to come in and discuss shit.
Now,
why would it be on a plantation?
Yeah.
Why would they still call it the plantation?
This is where it gets tricky. Well, see, what happened was somebody reached out to her and was like, hey, would you, like her manager, like someone reached out to her manager or something and was like, you want to do a show here? And she was like, yeah, sure. It wasn't something that she decided to do. Not a show, but like, would you like to host something here? And she's like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do it. And this, though, like Nottoway Plantation is home to one of the biggest antebellum mansions and one of the largest...
what mansion?
Antebellum.
Who's antebellum?
Antebellum's like that old style of like, like the way the houses looked on plantations.
Oh,
like
okay, so
if
it's
you
a
ever
style
watch
of
like
home,
Roots
like,
or Django.
Right, it's style of home like ranch or cape or
the big
split
like
level.
the rich white slave owners had.
Okay. The thing I would picture the Colonel Sanders living in.
It was one of the largest plantations in the South. It's currently operated as a luxury resort, but the thing is, like, it was founded by this guy named John Randolph.
Whoa! History, not racism. Thank you. I'm just going out with the whole backing the Confederate flag ideals.
And you're saying it facetiously.
Yep. Yes, I am. Yes, I am not saying it seriously. That's for damn sure.
Let's fly the Nazi flag. Hey, it's history. It's
history, not racism.
Seriously.
It happened. It's important, and it's important to ignore the negative aspects of it.
Word. So we're gonna fly the Onondaga Nation like flag here, the
history, not
the
racism.
Sequoia Nation flag here. The people that you like slaughtered.
What? I don't think so. That was before America.
History.
Before America doesn't count.
So John Randolph, the guy who founded this plantation, owned a ton of slaves and the resort is always trying to downplay like its history of slavery and the fucking horror of slavery and portray Mr. Randolph as a pretty cool dude. They're like, yeah, but he wasn't that bad. He was actually kind of nice to his slaves.
He was a pretty cool dude, you know? I mean, you can't blame him for that. Those were the times.
Yeah.
That was just what they did then.
Sure, he considered people property, but I mean, they had pretty cool benefits.
I mean, you can't. It's like getting mad at somebody that plays music for a living today for playing music. It's what they do.
Craig, listen to this quote from their website.
No, hold on. I just have to say that place must be haunted. Must be. So haunted.
Right? If anywhere is haunted, it should be the entire South.
The entirety of the South. Specifically along the colonies part of the South. So yeah, Florida's not haunted yet.
But listen to this quote, dude, from the plantation's website. Ever the astute businessman, Randolph knew that in order to maintain a willing workforce, it was necessary to provide not only for his slaves' basic needs for housing, food, and medicine, but
money, compensation,
but to also offer additional compensation and rewards when their work was especially productive.
Rewards like pay, like not slavery,
like basic human rights.
Rewards like, oh, you get to have 2 servings today. That a serving would be 1 spoonful of gruel. He realized if you fed them better, they'll work harder.
He realized the more food you gave them, the more energy they had.
He realized if you kept them happy, they wouldn't try to overthrow and kill you.
Red Bull, it gives you wings.
You're a piece of shit. You owned humans.
Yeah. So, needless to say, Ani DiFranco is criticized for kind of by default endorsing this venue.
Okay. So... I mean, in a way, an artist does have say in where they do things and how it goes down. But in another aspect, she really has no real connection to this plantation. She clearly is the type of person that's vocally against that shit.
Yeah, which is why it's so flabbergasting. Now, people were calling it
maybe it could be
a blatant display of racism.
Or maybe it's an ironic statement.
I think it's an unfortunate oversight. But
yeah.
I don't think it's a blatant display of racism, but it is... See, here's where it gets tricky, though. She was called out. People were like, whoa, this isn't cool. Why are you shouldn't even be doing
hosting things at a plantation.
No,
yeah.
And that's very reasonable for people to say.
Especially considering who the majority of her fan base is probably.
She wrote a 9-paragraph quote-unquote apology, in which she makes a lot of good points, but she basically just defends herself.
So it's not an apology, it's an excuse.
It's, you know, when somebody says something negative about you, sometimes your first impulse might be to defend yourself. And then if you think about it, you're like, oh, you know what? They might have been right. Like, it's kind of like if you say something racist and somebody calls you out on it.
No, dude, but you know, that's not what I meant.
Don't try to, before you try to defend yourself, stop and think about it and be like, wait, do they have a point? Is what I just said racist? Oh, fuck. You know what? They're right. She was just like, you know what? Like, she was like, yeah, sure. I'm sorry I'm sorry you're such an asshole. Like,
so it was not an apology.
Like, she was like, I'm going to cancel it. I'm not going to reschedule it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to cancel it because, like,
I'm just not going to do anything because I'm just going to sit in my room and play tunes to myself and my cat.
She makes a lot of good points in it, but it all just comes off as, like, really indignant and, like, angered that people would have the audacity to give her a hard time about it and just desperately trying to, like, rationalize.
Don't you know the type of person I am?
It's so, like, I mean, like, some of the points she's like, look, like, how much responsibility do I have as an artist to make sure that there's no negative history with any of the venues? Half the buildings in the South were built by slaves.
Then you can't, then you can't tour in the South.
There are a lot of good points, but they are all just, like, points that she came up with to defend herself. They were not in her mind previous to being accused of picking a racist venue. She should have just been like, word, you're right. That's kind of fucked up, isn't it? My bad. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. Like half the places in the South were built by slaves. Yeah, but they weren't homes of slaves.
Dude, it's to read her apology is cringeworthy. Like, for somebody who loves her so much, it really disheartens me to read it. It's like reading the racist shit that L. Frank Baum wrote. It's horrible.
Ani did bad?
Everybody's flawed. But you know what? A few days later...
I want you to say Ani did bad.
Ani did bad.
Okay.
A few days later,
point.
A few days later, she was like, here's what she said. I'll just read it verbatim. Everyone, It has taken me a few days, but I have been thinking and feeling very intensely that I would like to say I am sincerely sorry. It is obvious to me now that you were right. All those who said we can't in good conscience go to that place and support it or look past for one moment what it deeply represents. I needed a wake-up call and you gave it to me. It was a great oversight on my part to not request a change of venue immediately from the promoter. You tried to tell me about that oversight and I wasn't available to you. I'm sorry for that too. Know that I am digging deeper. Ani.
So Ani did good?
This might have just been a, like I got to apologize.
Her publicist was like, ooh, did you really write that?
Dude,
you need to write a new one.
Still on the website. I would have deleted that like my old live journal posts. I never had a live journal, but you know what I mean.
You would have deleted that like a Facebook post you regretted. Yeah. You're like, did I say that? Yeah. Because it really comes off as like what you said, like Ani did bad. She defended herself, but then she took a second.
100%.
A few days went by, and she 100%.
I don't think she's racist. She just did some, aside from the fact that she's a part of a racist society, so you know what I mean.
Institutionalized racism,
what Marquise said about Star Wars. Like, is it racist? Of course it is. It was made in America. Everything by default is racist because it's a product of a racist society. But I think it was an oversight, and when she got called out on it, she did what we all do sometimes and try. And I'm not trying to be an apologist because like I said, it makes me cringe to read that 9-paragraph apology, quote unquote.
Right, you said it yourself. I did bad.
Yeah, she tried to defend herself unreasonably,
and then she looked it over and was like, I should probably redo this.
She was out of line. You're out of your element, Ani. Shut up, Ani. You're out of your element.
You, ma'am, make a terrible racist.
Out here campaigning for equal rights.
Campaigning for equal rights, and the rally was at that plantation.
You're the worst racist I've ever seen.
The worst racist. No. I just want this to be in movie now. The worst racist. It's just...
Starring Dave Foley. I don't know why, but Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall instantly popped to my mind.
Starring or accompanying?
Starring Dave Foley.
And David Cross. Foley and Cross. At it again.
David Cross is like a skinhead. He's like a full-blown racist. And, and he hates Jews. He has David Cross has swastika tattoos. And Dave Foley's all like, you're Jewish, Pat. And he's like, I'm not Jewish.
The worst racist.
Your last name is Schwartzberg.
No, it's not. It's just Berg crap. The worst racist.
And Dave, anyway, I was really disheartened to see while I was preparing for this episode that she's barely won any notable awards. She won 1 Grammy.
So you're saying she deserves more Grammys? Don't you know the Grammys are rigged?
Reptilians. Illuminati confirmed.
No. It's not about Illuminatis or confirming. It's about not being a pop.
It's not about Illuminatis or confirming.
Forming?
Or confirmation.
Or confirmation or conforming. But it's about pop music, basically pop music of each genre.
Well, she did win 1 Grammy in 2004 for her album Evolve. She won the Grammy for Best Recording Package.
What?
The best packaging.
Not
even for her music.
There was no areas where the seal was tight on each package.
I liked your album. Oh yeah, what was your favorite song? Oh no, I didn't listen to it, but I
had a hell of a time opening it. The packaging was superb. I couldn't even listen to it. I couldn't even open it.
It is really cool. It is a cool package, but it kind of bums me out that she never won a Grammy for her fucking music.
So you picked up the CD. You see Ani DiFranco on it. You look at the top of her head. Then you look down to her toes. Look back to the top of the head. And go, nice package.
Oh my God, Ani, I hope you're not listening.
This package is about 3 by 6.
Ani, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Ani?
I'm okay. Are you okay, Ani? Ani, are you okay? Are you okay? There's an Alien Ant Farm version.
Hut. Cause she wavy. All right. Before we sign out, I want to kind of maybe introduce a new segment to the podcast.
Oh, what? I was not consulted.
I was not ready for this. I wasn't ready for this.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Oh, wait, wrong movie.
I'm not even programmed for this.
I'm not even. That's the fair point one.
not necessarily a regular segment, but maybe when we do a person or a character or something, at the end of the episode, we can pick a Pokemon team for them to kind of cross over, tie into our Pokemon podcast, and self-promote our sister series, Sylph Radio.
Okay. Snubble.
Snubble, huh? I have a team of 6 already picked out.
Okay, that's really not fair because I'm not even as big of a Pokemon fan or as knowledgeable about Pokemon in general as you are, and you spent time making a 6.
Yeah, if we do this in the future, you'll have a chance to...
Yeah, because that was probably the most fun I had doing the Sylph Radio with you ever, making Pokemon teams for all of Gotham.
Yeah, was it
Gotham's
like episode
characters.
16 or something? We did Gotham City, and we made Pokemon teams for like every Batman character. Sounds like it might be a bullshit idea for a podcast, but it was actually a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and you're interested and curious.
Yeah, check it out. So now let's make a team for Ani. Do you want... I already have a team.
Okay,
but...
yeah, maybe how about I'll be like one of the aspiring trainers and only have 3 or something. How about not a full 6, but I'm one of the people you meet along the road to Victory Road?
Okay. All right, so let's jump in here.
Snubble was my first.
First, here's a little anecdote. Like, you know how I said my favorite album is probably Living in Clip?
Correct.
The name of that album comes from one of her like technicians or something had said the amps aren't clipping so much as they are living in clip. Because the way Ani plays, she has this distinctive like finger picking, like really aggressively beating the shit out of that guitar, and like it'll be really quiet and like
that's a very folkish thing too.
Very like she's really hitting it. And like a fucking punk rock drummer. Like she's drumming her guitar.
No. That is definitely a folkish thing to do. A lot of folk musicians will do that. They'll like play a little soft and then like, once I get to that on an acoustic guitar.
Satan.
No, it's present a lot in David Dondero's music and work. If you don't know him, check him out. If you like folk, he's amazing.
Well, in light of this, I say let's give her a Loudred for her clipping amps.
Oh, okay. That's like the cymbals?
Yeah. And it had like speakers.
Yeah.
It's like a really loud Pokemon. Actually, I think it evolves to Exploud. So maybe an Exploud. I don't know.
Okay. Is that one of the newer ones?
Ruby and Sapphire, I think, maybe.
Ruby. Oh, well, it was
Diamond and Pearl.
Okay, so it was newer to me because I played Alpha Sapphire.
Okay.
So.
And let's give her an Ambipom to go along with her like finger picking style.
Oh.
Ambipom probably be a pretty good guitar player.
I don't know what Ambipom is. Which one? Is that a guitar Pokemon?
Do you know Apom? The little monkey with the hand on its tail? Little purple monkey with a hand on its tail? Sorry to the non-Pokemon listeners.
Okay. No, I do. It's just some of these I'm going to be like, I don't know what that is. And once you explain it, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
We'll give her a Conkeldurr. That's the construction one.
Yeah. Holding girders.
She supports her fellow workers.
Conkeldurr is the one that has 2 girders, correct? Conkeldurr is the evolved, the highest evolved. You can only get that from trading.
Just dropping some Poke knowledge on you.
Just doing that.
We'll give her a Bouffalant because she's from Buffalo.
Afro
That's the
bison.
buffalo with the afro, yeah. And we'll give her a Cloyster.
Oh.
Just you can think about it for a little bit.
Let's image search Cloyster and you'll get it.
And last but not least, we'll give her an Empoleon because everyone, and I mean everyone, has a fucking Empoleon.
Nice. Okay. There's your team, right? Ani's team.
There's Ani's team.
Not your team, Ani's team.
It's not my team.
Yeah. Like I said, Snubble for sure. The second one, Umbreon.
Okay.
That's
I love Umbreon.
What I'm going to say.
One of my favorite Pokemon.
And I can also see a Golduck.
Okay.
Yeah. There's my 3. I said I was going to do 3.
Word. And if you found that interesting, please go check out our Pokemon show, Sylph Radio, a Pokemon podcast. That's SILPH.
We all know probably 70% of you are playing Pokemon Go. If you don't know much about Pokemon, please don't be like ashamed when people talk to you about Pokemon Go or whatever. I've seen way too many people at my work that come up to the counter and they see our tip jars. Our tip jars say Mystic, Valor, and we have a third little one that says Instinct. And they're like, oh, Pokemon Go's it. And then I start to engage them about it, And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't really play that much. I'm not big on a Pokemon, but like I have played. And then they'll start getting into it. I'm like, motherfucker, you like Pokemon. Admit it to yourself. Don't be ashamed of it.
That bums me out, man. The other day I was walking by Brookstone, and it was like $5 off if you show us your Pokemon Go Pokedex. And I'm like, what if I show you my Pokedex on one of the fucking 17,000 Pokemon games I've bought since 1997? What if I show you a real Pokedex? Fuck you, I don't have a smartphone.
Oh, by the way,
$5 off.
I do want to just put this out there to everybody that listens to us that does play. As of today, 100 in my Pokedex, hit 100 a couple days ago, haven't hit 101 yet.
100 different Pokemon?
Yeah, I've caught 100
Nice.
Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and I'm trainer level 24 and a half. I'm almost 100,000 XP
Nice.
at level 24. It is a grueling... The one thing I will say about Pokemon Go that is very similar to Pokemon games, the grind is still there.
Yeah.
Only it's in a different way. Instead of all your Pokemon leveling up, you as a trainer level up.
Well, check out the last few episodes of Sylph Radio. Me and Jeremy talk about Pokemon Go. Me and Brianna talk about Pokemon Go.
I'm so jealous. I want to be in those conversations about Pokemon Go because like I can do that now.
And don't forget about our side series, Fair Enough.
Fair Enough, yeah. There's way too many listeners of ours that aren't listening to Fair Enough because they're like, well, I listen to Fair Point, but it's not quite Fair Point. It's just Fair Enough.
I know Fair Points aren't really coming out regularly now, though. So you've got those Fair Enoughs in the meantime. And if you can like us on Facebook, leave us a rating and a review.
On iTunes.
On Stitcher,
Yo,
Libs, and
hang out,
whatever.
chat with us on Twitter. We make friends, actual friends with people that are fans. So,
yeah, at Fairpoint Pod, Fairpoint Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, I'm
YouTube.
on Reddit. I don't know. Fucking just hit us up. We like talking to the fans. It's so much fun.
I am still too old for that. If you would, as you would say, get into the whole Reddit thing.
It took me a minute to get used to Reddit, but Reddit's awesome. You would love it if you got used to it.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like, oh man. I think the biggest issue with me and Reddit is I know that I will lose myself and my time onto Reddit if once I get into it.
It's a cool thing to like check. Like I have to have something to look at and read when I'm eating. Like it's a cool thing to check on my lunch or whatever, you know. But yeah, hit us up, support us if you can, and if you've already stopped listening, I don't know how I'm talking to you, but if you've already stopped listening, you're a fool because I don't know if you've noticed, but
Stay, you fool.
There's stuff happening at the ends of these episodes.
Yeah,
you can't just dip out at the end of the episode.
You're missing things.
We're starting a new trilogy today. Let's
You
just
say?
we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to tell you who or what or why, but no, it is characters that are specifically named
Nathan K.
and Craig. Ani's pretty cool. Lewis.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week. We're talking ghosts.
I ain't afraid of no ghost. Oh, wait, that was Dan Aykroyd's cameo.
Oh, wait, yes, I am.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrified of fucking ghosts. Yeah. All right.
And now, Fairpoint Podcast presents Guy Fawkes Monster Hunter, The Search for Klaus Trilogy. Chapter 1, Klaus, but no cigar. The pegacorn was black as night, with wicked flames spewing from its nostrils, curling up to frame its snarling face. Her hooves glinted a metallic silver, her wings folded at her side. She looked mean and deadly, a far cry from any type of monster Sarah had encountered in the field before, but not the toughest she'd ever faced. She'd taken down monsters in the regionals that would send this equine monstrosity heading for the hills. Sarah took a side glance at her Dinosaurus Rex. The hulking lizard beast had taken some damage in the last fight, but was still in pretty peak condition. She had been training him since he was fresh out of his egg, and this paid off in the form of several league trophies he had won as master. Now it was time to put the savage Saurian to the test again, and see if he could help her snag a deadly black pegacorn.
Oh, what's that you doing there?
Sarah jumped, and a familiar face shoved itself next to hers, invading her personal space and breathing an invisible cloud of Funyun breath right at her. Closing her non-brand specific handheld video gaming console, she slid over awkwardly on the park bench and shot a skeptical half-hearted scowl at the gentleman leaning over from behind the bench.
Monster hunting.
she said flatly, holding up her nondescript gaming system for him to see.
Monster hunting, eh?
The man asked in a gruff Cockney accent. When he closed his question with a chuckle, his crooked and yellowed teeth revealed themselves in the scraggly mess of a beard that covered half his face. He was probably about 30 years old, but a lifestyle of drinking, smoking, and self-pity had left him looking at least a decade older. He wore old-fashioned English clothing, and from his jacket he pulled a strange capsule the size of a baseball. He tossed it in his hands as if it were one.
What you know about monster hunting, girl?
More than you know about blowing up Parliament.
Sarah snarked with a dismissive wave.
Hey!
The ruffian shouted, thrusting an accusing finger at her with such gusto that he almost lost his tall black steeple hat in the process.
That was a cheap shot, and you knows it.
What do you want, Guy Fawkes?
Sarah asked.
I'm kind of busy.
She motioned to her generic handheld game console.
I need your help for something.
He answered, wavering.
But you can't tell your boyfriend.
This conversation's done.
Sarah said bluntly, dropping the game system in her purse and standing up to leave.
Now wait just a minute there.
Guy Fawkes said, rushing in front of her and grabbing her by the arm. She jerked her arm out of his grasp and glared at him, eye to eye. She was surprised she had never noticed that one of his eyes was ever so slightly cocked.
Get over yourself, would you? It's nothing like that. Now is it?
Why should I help you?
Sarah asked.
I barely know you.
You owe me.
Guy Fawkes said.
After I helped you go back in time to save your boyfriend, I'd say you owe old Guy Fawkes big time. And I'm only asking for a little favor.
What?
Sarah demanded incredulously. This is why she avoided talking to this guy. John Johnson or Guy Fawkes or whatever his name was. He was just some crazy bum, convinced he was a time-traveling historical figure that her boyfriend Craig and his boyfriend Nathan let sleep in the recording studio. He talked nonsense and didn't respect personal space.
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, that's right.
He said, tapping his hairy chin thoughtfully.
You don't remember. You enlisted me help saving your boyfriend from vampires when they had him trapped back in 1999. But then all our minds was erased to the whole memory because of we was messing with the fourth wall or something. But then Nathan had these dreams and it all came back to him and he wrote it in a story.
Guy Fawkes trailed off. Sarah was nodding slowly and looking at him like he was a crazy person. He got the odd impression that if he made any sudden movements in her direction, she would punch him in the face.
Okay.
Sarah said nervously, her hand sliding casually into her purse. She stood still, hand in purse, her eyes locked on the eccentric beardo. Guy Fawkes sighed, shrugging and throwing his hands up in the air.
Look, I admit it.
He said, defeated. He took a seat on the bench.
I'm not perfect. I can't do everything by myself. I need your help on this one, Sarah. You got to believe me.
Why don't you just take the robot?
She asked, easing up and sliding her hand out of the purse. Craig and Nathan had a robot, for some reason, and this Guy Fawkes guy was always borrowing it to help him on his so-called adventures. She assumed he didn't have any friends, and the robot offered him a kind of friendship unconditional to basic human standards such as hygiene and tact. Guy Fawkes shook his head dramatically, then looked up at Sarah.
The robot's not gonna work for this one,
he said. His eyes watered and his lip trembled, and he patted his chest to emphasize his next statement.
This one's a matter of the heart.
Remembering she was a badass and could totally take Guy Fawkes in a fair fight any day, she untensed her muscles and sat down next to him, placing a hand on his shoulder.
What's wrong, Guy Fawkes?
It's not me,
he said, wiping his eyes.
And I wasn't crying. I was just eating Funyuns earlier. But there's a space Nazi. His name's Gernhardt, and he used to be a time Nazi, and he had this clown partner named Klaus, you see. And they was lovers, they was. But then he found the original Klaus, and his name was Casper. And now they's his lovers. But Gernhardt misses Klaus, and he wants me to find him. And I did. But he's moved on with his life, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. But there's other clones of Klaus out there is. And I've got to find one that wants to go back to Gernhardt. Who am I, after all, that stands in the way of true love?
Sarah was doing that thing again where she nods and looks at Guy Fawkes like he's a crazy person. Guy Fawkes was used to it. People did that to him a lot. Especially Sarah.
And you think I can help with this?
Sarah asked.
Well, of course I does.
Guy Fawkes said sincerely, looking Sarah in the eyes. He even took the extra effort to twitch and strain his face muscles until his slight cocked eye straightened out for a split second.
I means, you and Craig, you've been together for so long, and what does old Guy Fawkes know about love?
Sarah gave an unenthused but heartfelt smile. She had no idea whatsoever what this guy was talking about, but he was sincere. What harm could helping him out do? She nodded.
Okay.
She said, connecting the dots and trying to get his rant of lunacy straightened out in her head.
I'll help you out, Guy Fawkes. So what's my part in this?
Guy Fawkes grinned a toothy, bearded grin and visually brimmed with excitement. Is that a thing? It's a thing now. That's what he was doing. He was brimming with excitement, about to boil over.
Pack your bags, Sarah.
He said, handing her an empty suitcase.
It's like I'm the doctor and you're me assistant.
Sarah shook her head and handed him back the suitcase.
I think I've got everything I need.
She said, not taking the matter too seriously.
So what are we doing? Getting a couple back together?
Something like that.
He said,
We's gonna be on the road for a while, though. First stop, Germany.
Germany?
Sarah laughed skeptically.
And how do you suppose we get there?
Oh, I knows a guy.
No fucking way, dude.
Donnie yelled, locking his doors just as Guy Fawkes tried to open one.
You can't fucking drive to Germany anyway, you dumb shit.
Oh, come on, Donnie.
Guy Fawkes shouted bitterly as the teenager peeled off, leaving Guy Fawkes and Sarah Tiroli in the dust. Guy Fawkes shouted an obscenity as he picked up a rock and threw it at the car, cracking the back windshield. Almost on cue, the engine died and Donnie's car broke down in the middle of the road. The teenager, sporting a greaser-style white t-shirt and leather jacket, hopped out of the car furious.
Did you just throw a fucking rock at my fucking window, dude?
He demanded.
Nuh-uh.
Guy Fawkes blurted, shaking his head insistently.
That was her.
He jerked a thumb towards Sarah. Sarah slapped him upside his head.
Oh my god, babe, do you think that bearded loser broke your engine?
A voice from the car asked as Donnie looked under the hood.
It's not how cars work, babe.
Donnie said, exasperated.
He just broke the window.
He knew nothing about cars, except that they were a convenient place to make out with girls.
Fuck!
He shouted, slamming the hood shut.
Isn't your girlfriend a Wiccan?
Asked Fawkes.
Can't you do a Mrs. Fix-It spell or something?
That's not how Wicca works.
Babe groaned, still inside the car. They couldn't see it, but her arms were crossed.
Why can't you just leave us alone, you creep?
I can fix it,
Sarah said, approaching the car.
but it's going to cost you.
Ha! Yeah, right.
Donnie laughed.
You can't fix it. You're a girl.
Girls know stuff about cars, Donnie.
Babe shouted indignantly, recrossing her arms, which she had just uncrossed.
Fine.
Donnie said, relifting the hood.
How much is it gonna cost me?
A ride to Germany.
Sarah said, pulling a pair of work gloves out of her purse and reaching under the hood to do car things. Mess with the carburetor and stuff. Shut up. I know car stuff.
Hi, welcome to Germany. Here's your complimentary bratwurst and Witbier. Remember not to drink while driving, nor acknowledge the 1940s.
I'm not driving.
Guy Fawkes exclaimed merrily, snatching the Witbier and bratwurst, taking the liberty of helping himself. He reached forward and turned the dial, raising the volume of the Morrissey LP he imposed upon his traveling companions. Sarah reached forward and turned the dial back down.
Wow, that really was some shortcut.
Donnie remarked, clearly impressed with Sarah's roadmanship.
Yeah.
Sarah shrugged noncommittally.
A toast.
Guy Fawkes exclaimed, raising the Witbier between them.
To Sarah.
He threw back his head and took a long swig, leaving a mess of backwash and beard hair behind as he offered the bottle to their noble navigatress. Sarah recoiled in disgust, gagging and balking sideways at the offer.
No thanks.
She declined, pushing the bottle gently away.
Oh, don't worry. You can't get syphilis from sharing a bevy.
Guy Fawkes jeered. Sarah pushed the bottle away as he held it forward yet again and shook her head.
Not a big fan of beer.
She said.
Do they have wine coolers in Germany?
There was a moment of awkward silence as her carmates turned quizzically in her direction.
What? I don't have to break every stereotype.
There was another moment of awkward silence before Babe, whose arms were still crossed, said,
Donnie loves wine coolers. There's some in the trunk.
Aw, babe.
Donnie exclaimed angrily, his face red with embarrassment.
Don't tell him that.
Pull the car over.
Sarah instructed.
I both desire and deserve refreshment.
Donnie swallowed his pride and pulled the car over to the shoulder of the road.
Can you grab me a cranberry, a keg, pomegranate spritzer?
You don't need to concern yourself with that, Donnie.
Guy Fawkes shouted, specks of Witbier spattering Donnie's face.
You just focus on the task at hand. Getting us to the Berlin, Burlesque Berlin, Burlesque Berlin, Burlesque Berlin, Burlesque Berlin.
Klaus blew several kisses to the adoring audience, who demanded an encore and bemoaned his leave as he made his exit, ducking through the curtain and slipping backstage.
Oh, great show tonight, Klaus.
The skeevy club owner said, patting the clone on his shoulder as he passed.
Yeah, I know. I'm not stupid.
Klaus said, removing the hand from his shoulder delicately with two fingers, the way one might remove a caterpillar which they didn't want to kill, but nonetheless wanted off their shoulder.
I'm going to my dressing room. bring me some cocaine and some of those boys from the front row.
You ought to get it a half. Do you really think that's a good idea?
Dandruff reigned behind him as the manager scratched the back of his head.
Just get me my blow, bitch.
Klaus snapped, topping the snapping off with a snap.
You know where to find me.
Klaus strutted off toward his dressing room while the skeevy manager shook his head, muttering, and ambled in the opposite direction.
Oh, and some ayahuasca.
Klaus yelled, glancing back over his shoulder as he opened the door to his private quarters.
I wish you would open the door to my private quarters.
Klaus said, lowering his eyes seductively. You're not supposed to reference the narrative, Klaus.
Why not? I don't give a fuck. I'm drunk. And you're cute.
I'm really not comfortable with this, so if we could, move the story along.
Fine. Deadpool has all the fun.
Klaus closed the door behind him and gasped at the sight of 4 uninvited strangers standing in the middle of his dressing room. A bearded ruffian, a short blonde lady, and 2 teenage lovebirds clinging to each other.
Egad!
He exclaimed.
Get a room, you two. One that does not belong to me. I don't know who let in the riffraff, but out you all go.
Klaus picked up a broom from the corner and began trying to sweep the intruders out of the room.
Oi, not so fast, Mary Poppins.
Guy Fawkes blurted, snatching the broom from his hands and tossing it aside.
Me name's John Johnson, and this is me muscle Sarah.
He gestured to the blonde lady, who glared intensely with a detached look of disinterest.
We knows all about your past, you bloody Nazi, and it's time you pay for your crimes against humanities.
I'm Babe, and this is my boyfriend Donnie.
Babe, shut up.
Bitch, please.
Klaus said dismissively, waving Guy's notion away carelessly.
I've opened 2 Jewish rec centers and donated over $1,000 to LGBT youth groups in the past year alone. I think I'm one step ahead of you in paying for my crimes against humanity.
Guy Fawkes listened behind a skeptical glare.
I left that life behind me a long time ago, Buster. I am not a Nazi. I am a dancer.
Guy Fawkes nodded slowly.
So you guys really are more successful without Gernhardt in your life.
He mused.
Well, nonetheless, you should go back to him.
Ha!
The dancer mocked a laugh.
You think I'll go back to Gernhardt? And I saw I was drunk.
Guy Fawkes removed his hat and scratched his head. He was starting to have doubts. It was looking like it was going to be harder to find a willing Klaus clone than he had originally thought.
He says he misses you.
He did. Okay, I will go back to him, but don't tell him that. We will make a whole spectacle of it. Tell him I was hearing none of it. Make him beg. And then, right when he's about to cry, I show up, bam, popping out as a cake.
There's a cake?
Donnie asked snidely.
Why would there be a cake?
I don't know, Donnie. Why would there be a cake?
Klaus snapped.
Maybe you could be giving us some input? I don't hear any bright ideas coming from you, mister.
Maybe no cake?
Okay, John Johnson. How about some ideas that will work?
Klaus said, laughing incredulously.
Enough from the peanut gallery already. Let's just get on our way, ja? Gernhardt is waiting.
Klaus threw an assortment of clothes, accessories, and paraphernalia in a cheap suitcase and hustled our adventurers out the door hastily. Donnie took the lead, while Klaus and Babe bonded over their shared interest in Wicca, and Guy Fawkes fell behind to confer with his cohort Sarah.
Not bad, eh?
He asked, grinning enthusiastically as he nudged her with his elbow.
Old Guy Fawkes still has it in him, doesn't he? Maybe I didn't need your help after all. Maybe I can get straight A's in love, too. Just like old Johnny Cash.
Yep, you sure talked him into it.
Sarah agreed complacently, nodding and giving him a Mona Lisa smile. She pulled out her game thing and turned the power on. She said, without looking up from the screen,
And you definitely didn't need my help. Maybe you shouldn't ever ask for it again.
Maybe, eh?
Guy Fawkes said cheerfully, missing the point.
Maybe. Let's celebrate our win with a couple cherry lime kiwi spritzers, shall we?
Oh mein Gott!
Klaus exclaimed as they approached Donnie's car, startling the entire party. He held his arm out between himself and the car cautiously and took a careful step forward.
What is it?
Guy Fawkes asked nervously. A sinking feeling of dread grew in the pit of his stomach as it occurred to him that they weren't home yet, and life is never easy for a monster hunter. He pulled one of the fist-sized capsules from his breast pocket and held it, poised to throw.
There is totally a caterpie in your car!
Klaus shouted giddily. Sarah looked up from her video game and noticed that he wasn't holding his hand out in defense. He was aiming his smartphone at the car.
A caterpie?
She asked.
Ja!
Klaus bounced on his heels as he swiped away at the screen with one finger.
Haven't you been playing Pokemon Go?
Pokemon who?
Donnie sneered, squinting his eyes and casually shaking his head.
Oh, don't act like you don't know how to pronounce it.
Klaus said.
Pokemon Go, the new sensation that's taken the world by storm. Everyone is playing it.
Ahoy!
Guy Fawkes chuckled, shaking his head.
You stupid Nazi. You've been time traveling so much, it scrambled your brains. He thinks it's 1999, doesn't he?
Oh, shove it. I know what year it is.
Klaus said.
It's a new game on the smartphones. Everyone and their mother is playing it. You should get on the bandwagon. This trip will be a great opportunity to catch new Pokemon.
By this point in the conversation, Sarah had put away her handheld, downloaded the app on her phone, and was playing already.
This is awesome,
she said.
I just conquered the Berlin Burlesque gym for Team Valor.
Guy Fawkes laughed condescendingly.
Okay, it's all well and good, kiddos, but I've been out here hunting real monsters, not on me smarty pants phone, and I says we move along. As you say, Gernhardt's waiting now, isn't he?
Oh, you're just jealous because you can't play on your 16th century flip phone.
Klaus jeered as he climbed into the back seat of the car.
I'm not.
Donnie's busted old POS ambled along the dirt road, which curled treacherously along the side of a mountain. Guy Fawkes crossed his arms and grumped in the back seat.
I still says it's an unnecessary risk taking this detour.
He grumbled, sticking out his bottom lip and staring out the window.
Oh, what could happen?
Klaus asked flippantly.
Besides, there's a magma up here, and that bitch is mine.
Don't say bitch.
Babe said, without looking up from her phone.
Don't tell me what to do, bitch.
Klaus said, eyes likewise fixated on his own phone.
Would you guys shut up?
Donnie demanded, as pissed off as he usually is.
I can't concentrate on driving with all this bickering.
Guy Fawkes shook his head and leaned forward.
No, you can't concentrate on driving because you're playing that stupid smarty pants game instead of keeping your eyes on the road. Watch out for that car up ahead.
Shit!
Donnie looked up from his phone and turned the wheel to hug the side of the mountain as he drove around the other car, which was parked idly along the side of the road.
Probably after that Magmar.
Sarah said sternly.
Drive faster.
Guy Fawkes eyed the rearview mirror as the car rounded the bend and noticed the headlights turn on just as they were about out of view. He narrowed his eyes and his heart started beating faster. Something wasn't right.
Something ain't right,
Guy Fawkes said nervously, just before the other car came screeching into view, ramming into Donnie's ride and shoving it closer to the edge.
Whoa, not cool!
Donnie shouted, struggling to maintain control of the vehicle. Sweat dripped from his furrowed brow as he spun the wheel desperately.
Oh, babe.
His girlfriend squealed, grasping at the shoulder of his jacket.
It's a bloody ambush.
Guy Fawkes shouted, watching over his shoulder as the enemy car rammed their own yet again, pushing them even closer to the edge. Guy Fawkes climbed over Sarah and Klaus and stuck his head out the window, peering over the cliff. Miles of forest stretched beneath them. Even if they survived a fall, they would be miles from civilization, and they wouldn't be able to call for help while the Pokemon Go app was running.
We's doomed.
He wailed.
We's all doomed.
Babe clasped Donnie's hand in hers and looked him in the eye. She collected herself and whispered calmly.
I love you, Donnie.
Donnie stammered.
I'm not really sure I'm looking for something serious, babe.
Having pulled up completely alongside Donnie's junker, the antagonist driver, a woman in some type of uniform, took one look at the occupants of the car and jerked her wheels suddenly. One last ram sent them tumbling hood over heels over the edge of the road. Time seemed to slow, and the fall seemed to last forever. The five of them bounced alternately off their seats and the ceiling, shielding their faces and careening into one another until finally they came to a rest at the foot of the mountain. Coughing as she waved smoke out of her face, Sarah reached down and hoisted Guy Fawkes from the upturned vehicle. He spit and sputtered as he snapped to consciousness and jerked his head back and forth to take in their surroundings. Babe was standing off to the side shivering, and Donnie stepped forward, placing his jacket over her shoulders.
Oi, Sarah!
Guy Fawkes shouted at his rescuer as she rescued.
You all right? You needs me help?
Yeah, for starters, you could maybe push with your legs as I'm lifting you, and not just hang there like dead weight.
This is fucking bullshit!
Donnie blurted, lamenting the death of his shitty car.
Now how am I gonna pick up chicks?
Babe pulled away from him and scowled.
Seriously?
Oh, babe, I'm just talking about you, babe.
Donnie said, taking her hands.
Is Klaus okay?
Babe asked, a look of worry on her face. Guy Fawkes' eyes snapped all the way open, and the crooked one cocked another degree.
That's right. The package must be delivered at all costs. The clone is our number one priority. Our number one concern.
The package was lost in transit.
An authoritative voice called out from the woods. Guy Fawkes, Sarah, Donnie, and Babe all looked around, peering out through the mist and the smoke coming from the engine.
No, I wasn't. I'm right here in the car.
Klaus shouted.
I caught that magma.
Bullshit.
Sarah said.
Oi!
Guy Fawkes shouted, stepping forward.
Who's out there? Identify yourself.
For a moment, nothing happened. Then, directly ahead of them, a lone woman stepped into view, out of the brush. Guy Fawkes sighed with relief and laughed condescendingly.
Oi, don't worry, it's just a girl. Sarah, kick her arse.
To their left, another woman stepped into view. She was wearing the same uniform as the first. Both wore the same scowl. A third moved forward to their right.
Oh, bugger.
Guy Fawkes muttered as his group tightened and converged together. Before long, there were over 40 uniformed women surrounding them on all sides.
Somebody help me out of the car. I want to see her. Is she prettier than me?
There's quite a few of them out here, Klaus.
Guy Fawkes whispered.
Why are they all wearing red armbands?
Sarah asked nervously.
Are they Team Valor?
No, there's not Team Valor.
Guy Fawkes sneered, chuckling condescendingly. From the midst of the mob, one of them raised their hand and identified herself as Team Valor.
She's Team Valor. The rest is feminazis.
Feminazis?
Sarah asked, raising an eyebrow.
Yeah, we're really up shit's creek now. Feminazis. They believe in equal rights and opportunities for women's and fight for sex positivity and social justice.
Team Instinct.
Sarah nodded knowingly.
I think it's kind of rude and derogatory to call them feminazis, don't you think? That sounds like reasonable feminism to me.
Babe countered.
Oh, no. They also want to kill all the Jews and take over the world.
Guy Fawkes explained, emphasizing with his poorly manicured hands.
These Nazis.
Ew.
All right, so who's going to speak up for you?
Guy Fawkes asked, holding his hands out humbly, palms open.
What do you broads want with us?
The semblance of feminazis parted, and a strange apparatus wheeled itself forward until it was positioned in front of Guy's group. It was about 4 feet tall and resembled a metallic fire hydrant on wheels. It wore pink fuzzy earmuffs and vocalized with a shrill metallic voice.
Yo, this is bullshit. But why do I have to do this?
I do not pay to question my orders.
The mysterious authority spoke from behind the crowd.
Yo, y'all bitches don't even pay me at all.
The robot bemoaned.
Look, this like dehumanizing. I ain't even human.
Look, we let you wear the earmuffs, didn't we?
After a pause, the talking fire hydrant let out an exasperated sigh and turned to Guy Fawkes.
Say, I swear to my grandma. So I guess I'm supposed to introduce the leader or some shit. I don't know. Look, I'm not even programmed for this. The bitch name is Claudia.
All hands to yes!
The group parted again, and the robot wheeled itself off to the side. As it passed, it turned and whispered to Guy Fawkes.
Look, I'm just throwing it out there. Y'all should kill me, deactivate me, throw a switch or something. I ain't even gonna fight back. Look, see this? Do what y'all gotta do.
Once the feminazis had formed a path, they all kneeled, bowing their heads and raising their right arms in salute. Guy Fawkes gulped as the footsteps approached.
Thank you, Tyrone.
Their leader said, nodding at the robot as she stepped forward. Her hair was long on one side with a streak of purple and shaved on the other. She flipped the purple out of her eyes.
I'm Claudia. And guess what? One of you is going to die tonight.
Oh, babe.
Babe belted, clutching at Donnie's arm.
Don't worry, babe.
Donnie said confidently.
We're not important enough for them to kill off.
But that just makes us disposable.
Babe shrieked.
What is it you want with us, Miss Claudia?
Guy Fawkes asked solemnly.
We's not Jewish. We got nothing you want.
I got the magma.
Stop it, Klaus.
I want you to kneel.
Claudia said, smirking and lowering her eyes. She wore an army jacket covered with patches, red armband, camo everywhere else, torn jeans and combat boots. Donnie thought she was kinda hot, but he would never admit it.
Neil, are you bonkers?
Guy Fawkes demanded.
And dirty up me knickers, or just bolt these? These is true religions. I got them because Catholicism is the one true religion.
Guy Fawkes, they weren't working for you. Just kneel.
Klaus shouted from inside Donnie's wrecked junker.
I see you have already met my servant, Tyrone.
She commented as she strutted in front of our now kneeling protagonists.
He's my servant because he is a man, not because he is a black man.
I'm a robot. I'm not a man or black.
Tyrone groaned.
I'm a robot. I'm neither of them shits. Robot.
And I see you've already met my girls.
She said, motioning toward the small army which surrounded them.
But do you know who I am?
Yeah, we knows your game, Claudia the feminazi.
Guy Fawkes cocked his head, taunting her.
We didn't do's nothings. I didn't even commit a microaggression today.
Yes, he did.
Sarah said, nodding. She was still playing Pokemon Go.
Several times. There's an onyx somewhere around here. Do you mind if I get up and look around?
I am no oppressor of women. Do as you please.
Claudia shrugged. Sarah stood up and meandered around the general area, looking for the onyx. Claudia continued.
You know my name, but do you know who I am?
You do look kinda familiar.
You sound like a bitch.
Takes one to know one.
She replied snidely, placing a hand on her hip and smirking while raising an eyebrow, as if waiting for something to sink in.
Wait. No.
Guy Fawkes said. Claudia nodded.
I caught the onyx.
Klaus shouted.
Bullshit.
Sarah exclaimed.
You're
Guy Fawkes said, pointing at Claudia. She nodded.
and he's a...
Guy Fawkes said, pointing at the car. Claudia rolled her eyes and nodded again.
Klaus is a woman's?
He asked after a moment of deliberation.
But no,
She shouted, stamping her foot.
I am the original Klaus clone.
Guy Fawkes' jaw dropped.
Sweet Johnny Ma. The original? But I thought that was Caspar Hauser.
Caspar Hauser was just a prototype.
She explained.
I was the first clone, handcrafted by Gernhardt himself.
Gernhardt?
The Klaus clone in the car squealed with delight.
Oh, I can't wait to see him.
Claudia faked a laugh.
You might have to.
Now hold on just a minute there.
Guy Fawkes said forcefully, holding up an index finger.
I promised Gernhardt I'd bring him this Klaus clone, and I intends to keep me word. Guy Fawkes always accomplishes what he sets out to do.
Claudia faked another laugh.
History tells another story.
It does?
What story does your history tell?
Klaus asked and exclaimed, clumsily tripping over himself as he climbed out of the car and falling face first into the dirt.
A long and convoluted one.
Claudia said, helping Klaus to his knees, grabbing him by the collar and dragging him to kneel with the rest of the group.
One which we do not have time for this evening.
No, it's not.
Tyrone explained.
Actually, the story is quite simple. She was made by Gernhardt as the first clone, and then he was like, I'm gay, and tossed the bitch aside. What's there to not understand?
Zip it.
Claudia pointed at her robot manservant, lowering her eyes threateningly.
Oh, word? So what are you gonna do, deactivate me? Have me disassemble?
Tyrone said.
Go ahead. Send me back to the scrap heap. Yeah, I want that, actually, so please do.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
So, as I was saying,
Tyrone continued.
Once Gernhardt realizes he liked dudes, he cast her aside and made a new dude, which is the first Klaus.
That's me.
Klaus exclaimed joyfully.
9.
Claudia shook her head.
I was number 9?
Not even close.
Claudia laughed.
So there goes the mystery. The cat is out of the bag.
Oi!
Guy Fawkes shouted, aghast.
How did you know where I hid the bag?
Claudia ignored the further derailment.
Gernhardt is a bastard. He created me out of his own insecurity and self-loathing, and then cast me aside like some little gypsy boy. And for that, he will never be happy.
Oi, so that's why you're always pissed off,
said Guy Fawkes.
You think I chose this?
Claudia shouted.
I did not choose this gender. It was imposed upon me.
Don't know what that's like.
Tyrone quipped sarcastically, exasperated.
Quiet or we will take back the earmuffs.
Claudia ordered.
Alright, man, alright, cool. It's alright. It's cool, I'm cool. Just chill for a minute, alright? Let's simmer down.
So have you decided which one of us you're going to kill yet?
Klaus asked impatiently.
I am getting a cramp.
Claudia smirked.
You really haven't figured it out yet?
Oi!
Guy Fawkes pleaded desperately.
Donnie's a good kid. He just needs some guidance, that's all. Go easy on him.
Dude!
Donnie.
Claudia stepped all the way to the left and stood in front of the shivering teenager kneeling at the beginning of the row. From inside her jacket, she pulled a 1992 semi-automatic Beretta, cocked it, and pointed it at his head.
That's you, right?
Oh, was this just a Walking Dead ripoff this whole time?
Donnie groaned, throwing his head back and rolling his eyes.
The weekend was right. You do look disposable.
Donnie stiffed his upper lip and tried to keep composure, but failed and burst into tears.
I just wanted to make out with my girlfriend.
He sobbed.
I never wanted anything to do with MIBs or champ guy or Nazis or feminism. I just wanted to make out with my girlfriend.
Girlfriend?
I'm just gonna go catch Pokemon with Sarah.
Babe said in a questioning tone, gesturing with her hands.
Oh, be my guest.
Claudia smiled, helping her to her feet.
Tyrone, get these ladies a phone charger.
Babe!
Well, you are Team Mystic.
She shrugged as she backed away, wincing sympathetically.
Looks, if you're gonna kill one of us, just does it already.
Guy Fawkes grumbled.
But if I'm going out the way I always intended to.
He reached into his overcoat and pulled out a 1997 Sony Discman. Straightening out the foam covers on his hard plastic headphones, he pressed play and began singing along as he slipped them beneath his greasy, tangled hair and over his waxy ears.
To die by your side is such a heavenly ways to die.
Claudia took a few final steps to the right, past the crooning Guy Fawkes, and leveled her gun in the face of the Klaus clone. He didn't notice because he was playing Pokemon Go.
Evolve time!
He said, doing a little dance with his arms and shoulders as his Voltorb evolved.
Pay attention.
Claudia snapped, spit flecking from her mouth.
You think you will make Gernhardt happy? You will never make Gernhardt happy. You know why?
Because I am fat.
Klaus cast his eyes downward, turning off his phone and pouting.
9.
She said, shaking her head slowly.
2 reasons. Number 1, because Gernhardt will never be happy. Because that is who he is. A miserable fuck. And number 2.
She tried to cock her gun, but realized she had already cocked it. Then she tried to play it off like she was just trying to scrape a piece of dirt off with her fingernail.
Number 2 is that you're never going to make it to see him.
Guy Fawkes pulled a headphone away from his ear.
Oi, me battery power's running low, so if you picked me, could you get it over with before I lose me Smith's record?
Klaus slowly shook his head in defeat.
She didn't pick you, Guy Fawkes.
He muttered.
Any last requests?
Klaus sighed.
Just fun?
He took a deep breath and craned his head backwards.
Babe!
Babe the teenage witch sprinted from just beyond the brush to rejoin the group. She stood in front of the kneeling Klaus, who took her hands in his own.
What you are doing with your foundation is wonderful. You look like the Aryan elite. But do something different with your eyebrows. You look like you've just seen Eradicate.
Donnie laughed. Babe smacked him in the back of the head.
Goodbye, Klaus.
Claudia smiled.
Tell all the other Klaus clones I said hi.
Klaus smiled brightly.
Oh, I will. It was Claudia, right?
Claudia tucked the still-smoking gun back into her coat pocket.
If your endgame is to make Gernhardt happy, you'd better get used to that happening.
After a pause, Guy Fawkes placed his earphones around his neck, looked around at his other compatriots, and asked,
What did I miss?
Claudia patted Guy Fawkes' cheek, then immediately sanitized her hand.
I have a feeling we will be seeing each other again.
She barked orders to her subordinates, and the feminazis organized and began departing. The fire hydrant on wheels they had referred to as Tyrone lagged behind the departing fascist and faced Guy Fawkes and his friends.
So, yeah, I'm saying you could kill me, throw a monkey wrench in the bitch's plans. They wouldn't be able to do it. I'm just saying, just throwing the idea out there just in case y'all get trigger happy, I'll just put this gun right here.
We don't give a shiza what happens to that hunk of junk.
Claudia called back.
He can even keep the earmuffs for all we care. We will bill you later.
Tyrone sighed. His display lights dimmed slightly.
Oi, we could use aerobics,
Guy Fawkes said cheerfully, placing an arm around the Tyrone bot as if it had shoulders.
What do you say? You want to come with us?
Tyrone calculated his options.
Could it hurt? I mean, the black guy always dies first, right? So
that's the spirit.
Guy Fawkes patted their new mechanical comrade on its back, and the 5 of them gathered their wits and belongings and continued their adventure on foot. Which was fine. Sarah needed to hatch some eggs anyway. Guy Fawkes sang merrily as they went.
Take me back to dear old Blighty. Put me on the train to London town.
And so, Guy Fawkes dragged us along as he continued his search to find a willing Klaus clone. Next episode, the trilogy continues and takes us to London for Chapter 2. Klaus on Haunted Hill. Klaus on Haunted Hill. Klaus on Haunted Hill.